Do you want to know the secret to becoming a successful private investigator? Well, in this video, I will dive into the real reasons private investigators succeed or fail. A huge challenge for many new private investigators is the simple fact that they are, well, new private investigators. Now, don't get me wrong, don't throw in the towel yet. Hear me out on this one. Being a private investigator can be a very profitable, very lucrative, and very rewarding career, to be sure. But there is no simple get-rich-quick formula or overnight success story that will guarantee you will be successful as a PI. As with most careers, it takes time, it takes grit, it takes wherewithal, and it takes a deep desire to be successful. So the real question is, do you have what it takes to be a successful PI? Today's most successful private investigators, at least from an earnings standpoint, are those that own their own PI firm or they specialize in very niche investigations. Now, that doesn't mean you have to own your own PI firm, or your PI firm doesn't have to be the biggest, the best, and the most known PI firm out there. The truth be known, most PIs do own their own company. In fact, I highly recommend that you own your own PI company if you are doing any kind of work as a PI, unless you are a W-2 employee working for another firm. There are far too many risks out there today for private investigators that you need to watch out for. And not having the right protections in place, like having an LLC or some other business type that affords separation between you personally and your business, is one of the biggest reasons PIs fail today. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. But that is not the number one reason PIs succeed or fail. There are plenty of other reasons we need to look at too. Experience is a huge concern, and rightfully so for all new private investigators. In fact, this is not a new concern. It is a concern that has been around for all businesses for decades. It just seems logical that the most experienced PIs are the best PIs. But is that really true? In many cases, it is very advantageous for clients to look for newer private investigators, especially when it comes to costs involved in simple investigations. Some cases take very little expertise, if you will, to do a good job. Take surveillance, for instance. For the most part, most surveillance jobs are pretty standard, especially when you get into the workers' comp, slip and fall, and personal injury world. Now, to be sure, you do need some experience to be able to do a good job, but the learning curve is a lot shorter for these types of cases. In fact, you can learn just about anything you need to know about surveillance for free. Yep, just check out my surveillance playlist right here on the channel. Then you can take those skills you learned and put them to practice, practicing surveillance in the real world. You don't have to have a paid case to go out and practice your following skills, or your video recording skills, or your staying covert skills. Just be careful. Don't go doing creepy stuff while you're out practicing, or you will find yourself in more trouble than you want. I have oftentimes had new potential surveillance investigators go out and do a practice run for me and show me their video, their report writing, and discuss their practice case with me so I could evaluate them. While this practice experience may help you get your first gig as a PI and allow you to talk the talk, it isn't going to get you the highest paying surveillance jobs right out of the gate. And pay rates for PIs is something we'll discuss here in a moment. Location, location, location is very important to being successful or not in today's private investigations industry. Again, don't get me wrong, where you live or set up shop is not the end-all do-all, to be sure, for your PI career. 20, 30, 50 years ago, location made a lot more difference than today, but it is still important. In today's world of PI business, it is easy to be everywhere, or at least give the perception of being everywhere. Most PIs do not limit their business to small geographical areas anymore. They can set up their website to advertise where they work versus where they live. And many PIs are quite successful doing this. For instance, I live in a rural area and I advertise not only to the local cities and towns, but I also advertise in the metro areas and the entire state for that matter. I can do that because of several reasons, which we will discuss here in a few moments. So make sure you don't just think about it. from where you are, but think about it from where you can work. Most people will drive at least an hour to work for a job today. Where can you be a PI if you look at it from that perception? I use a travel pricing strategy to help me sell my jobs. For instance, I'm about an hour away from Denver. I always tell my clients I will not charge for my first hour of travel time and 60 miles. This instantly makes me competitive with any PIs in the Denver area, and I would rather lose, if you will, a few dollars in travel time in order to gain a few $1,000s if I get the job than lose the entire job altogether. Your network is also vitally important as a PI today. As they say, it is not always about what you know, but who you know. I get calls for all kinds of jobs I can't take myself. I may not be able to do those jobs for many reasons. I may simply not work that type of case, or I may simply be too busy to take on more work at the moment, or the case may be too far away for me to take. Whatever the reason is, I know I can always go to my network and refer that work out. And many times I get a referral fee for those referrals. But what is more valuable than a referral fee is reciprocal referrals. And this is huge, folks. I get a ton of work today that is direct referral work, and I get all of that referral work because I have a network behind me and I do a lot of referrals myself. You can't do it all, nor should you try to do it all. That can lead to all kinds of disaster. But you should be building that network so you can refer out what you can't do and get referrals from PIs who don't do what you do. A huge make or break thing today for PIs is marketing, advertising, promoting their company correctly. I have seen more PIs come and go because of failed marketing, advertising, and promotions, or the lack thereof, than I care to count. It is a business, folks. You need to learn how to run the business properly. And if you don't know how to run a business, if you don't know how to do the marketing, that is okay. You can still do it. You just need a little direction. That is why I wrote my PI Basics books, to help new PIs learn how to do it and get them going in the right direction. That is also why I started this channel, to help new and aspiring PIs learn the ins and outs of the business. If you don't know how to build a functioning website with proper SEO strategies, then don't try to do it yourself. Seek out a professional who can help you. A very wise man once said, "A man's got to know his limitations." And let me tell you, that has never been truer than it is today. Take specialized areas of investigation, for instance. Many specialized investigations are where the big money is for private investigators. I am talking about investigations like accident investigations and reconstruction, wrongful death and injury investigations, and high-level criminal defense investigations, just to name a few. Now, while these types of specialized investigations demand more pay, they also demand more experience and have several other major challenges. Competition and limited work opportunities are two of those major challenges. There is a lot more competition out there for these higher-end investigation cases, and there are a lot fewer jobs available at any given time in these types of investigations too. I know many people think, well, geez, the surveillance world is the most competitive. And, well, surveillance is very competitive, but the jobs are much more plentiful too. So you have to weigh the good with the bad and see what is best for you. If you're going to try to get into one of those high-end investigation areas, can you overcome the marketing challenges? You see, for those folks, their network is much more valuable than their marketing. It is a who knows who and what have you done for me lately world. And other PIs are not just going to refer people to you because you have a pretty business card, a fancy website, and a cool logo. Before we get into PI pay and discuss the number one reason PIs succeed or fail, we should talk about OSINT, or Open Source Intelligence Investigations. Yep, every new PI out there is going to specialize in OSINT. They're going to specialize in online investigations. They are going to save the world one click at a time. And the one big mistake they make is they don't know what they don't know. They don't know these big secrets about OSINT, or Open Source Intelligence. First off, folks, OSINT has been around a lot longer than OSINT has been around. PIs have been doing online investigations, gathering open source intelligence since the inception of the internet, pretty much. Yes, it has evolved, and so have our capabilities and tools. But OSINT, those 5 letters in all caps, is what has evolved the most. It is just a different name for a very commonly known use of investigations. Regardless of what you call it, OSINT, online investigation, cyber sleuthing, whatever, it is still a skill set that almost every single PI out there uses on a daily basis. Did you hear that? Every PI out there is doing OSINT at some level. That makes it the most competitive niche in the PI industry, but there are even bigger secrets about OSINT that you need to know. OSINT isn't the end-all, do-all to an investigation. You can't just get online and find anyone, anywhere, anytime. Sure, the average Joe is easy to find. Sure, you can dig up all kinds of info on your neighbors and your friends. Sure, you can do that easy stuff. But the hard stuff, tracking down witnesses, tracking down defendants, finding intel on people who are hiding, trying to not be found, well, that usually requires some additional boots on the ground type of experience that most PIs never get. You see, the big reason most PIs do not have that experience is because they are sitting behind their desk doing OSINT, trying to compete in the most competitive portion of the PI industry and wondering why their phone never rings or why customers never hire them. Before we go into the big reason PIs fail, let me tell you this about OSINT. Not only is it easy for us PIs to learn how to do it, it is easy for our clients to do it too. I see now more than ever clients who are coming to me with dozens of pages of intel they have already dug up on somebody. Why would they pay me to find the same information? Clients are not going to pay you hundreds or thousands of dollars to do an OSINT investigation if they can do most of that work themselves. They really need someone with real-world, boots-on-the-ground experience or a PI willing to put on those boots and hit the pavement and do the hard work. That makes a difference in pay in the long run, too, for PIs. You see, starting out, you are going to get starting out pay. Sure, you can charge $150, $200, $250 an hour, but how much work will you really get if you don't have the skills that demand those rates? The biggest reason most successful PIs succeed is closely tied to the biggest reason most unsuccessful PIs fail. I have seen many a PI come and many a PI go in the last 2 decades as a PI, and the biggest reasons most fail is due to 3 things: unrealistic expectations, unrealistic planning, and unrealistic desires to succeed. You see, everyone wants a big paycheck, everyone wants to be self-employed, everyone wants the easy ride, but most people don't want to work. If you are real with yourself, if you are willing to put in the hard work, if you can get up every day and do what you got to do to get the job done so you can get up the next day and do what you got to do, you will succeed.